The opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Games begin in just a few hours, and the next Scott Mammoser is live in Paris to cover all things Team USA. We'll be chatting all about the United States 5-on-5 and 3-on-3 teams, other teams to keep an eye on, what games to circle on your calendar, and more. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and happy Friday. You are locked on to women's basketball. I'm Natalie Heavren, and I'm a features writer and the Atlantic 10 beat reporter for The Next. Thanks for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Women's Basketball is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sportsing like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. If this is your first time listening to Locked On Women's Basketball, we at The Next have over 100 reported pieces every single month. We have a beat reporter on every single WNBA team, one on more than 15 different NCAA beats, so get that YouTube subscription up. And you can also support us by subscribing to The Next for $9 a month, $72 a year at thenexthoops.com. Today, we'll be chatting about the United States' 5-on-5 and 3-on-3 teams, what games to circle on your calendar, and more. Joining me today is Scott Mammoser, who covers Team USA and the Mountain West for us over at The Next. So, Scott, welcome. Last Saturday, Team USA played against the WNBA All-Stars and lost by 8 points, though they were down by as many as 20 at one point. I know this is a broad question, but you were there. How did it happen?
Well, that was an exhibition, and many of the players on the All-Star team could have made the Olympic team in the first place. So that had a lot to do with it, but it was a very close game. They had Enrique Gumbawale go crazy at the very end, so that's what carried them over the top.
And, what do you think that Team USA will have to take away from that exhibition game in order to be successful in Paris?
Well, Cheryl Reeve, the coach, she said that the big key is that they can substitute the post players, Nafisa Collier, who's kind of injured her foot right now, Brittany Griner, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart. That's a luxury that a lot of the other teams don't have. She said they need to be more aggressive on transition and the perimeter. And then her and some of the players were saying that the muscle memories as well, they get so used to being in the same place at the same time with their regular teams, and now they have to change that up when they're with a different group of players.
And what did Coach Cheryl Reeve and the players have to say after that loss to the WNBA All-Stars?
Well, that was it, and they really rebounded against Germany a couple of days later. They held Satu Sabali to 3 for 17 shooting. They got back into the rhythm of things, but the same thing happened before they left to Tokyo. They lost to the All-Star team, and then they came back and won the gold medal a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, and if any of our listeners haven't checked out your story about that loss to Team USA or to the WNBA All-Stars, they should definitely check it out. And one thing that stood out to me was Brittany Griner said, as bad as it was good for us. And that's kind of what you touched on as well. And you mentioned that on Tuesday, Team USA defeated Germany in an exhibition game in London. What did they do differently to get the win, and how will that continue to help them in Paris?
I think that mostly they were using a different lineup, and like we said earlier, that even the German national team, which is making its debut here, isn't as talented as the WNBA All-Star team. So they've just been rolling through it.
And when Team USA takes the court next week, what are some of the keys that they'll need to put together to continue the success that they've had in Olympic Games? I believe winning more than 50 straight Olympic Games.
Oh, yes, they just need to keep up the momentum. There's a lot of familiar opponents, some new ones. Um, China has played 12 games against Olympic competition recently, and they've lost 11. So you never know.
And, who are those opponents that Team USA will be taking on in the group stage?
The first match is against Japan, which is a rematch of the gold medal game from Tokyo. Then they'll be playing Belgium, which is the highly anticipated possible upset there. That will be next Thursday. And then they'll play Germany again to end the group stage on the 4th, which is a Sunday. And then they will go to the quarterfinals.
Well, they'll go to the quarterfinals, assuming they advance through the group stage, which I know is highly anticipated, but you just never know what's going to happen in these Olympics. And, is the U.S. the gold medal favorite, or are there other teams that, are expected to contend with the U.S. for gold?
Highly anticipated that the U.S. would be the favorites for the gold again. I think Belgium would have the best chance for the upset with Mammoser. She led the Tokyo Olympics in scoring. She was the MVP of the Olympic qualifying tournament they had over in Antwerp in February. So they have Julie Alleman, Julie Van Loo. They were all tops of the statistics at that Antwerp tournament. And they even did pretty well at the World Cup with Miesemann injured. So they're one to watch out for. The host team, France, has Gabby Williams. She played at UConn a few years ago. She's naturalized for France, and she was the MVP of the Xi'an qualifying tournament. Megan Gustafson is going to be with Spain now, so they're back into it. They still have some players coming back: Elba Torrens, Laura Hill. Canada has got the veterans like Kia Nurse and Kayla Alexander, and they have the younger players. There's the 18-year-old that's going to go to Michigan, Sila Swords, and the Cassandra Prosper, the 19-year-old from Notre Dame, the younger one. So they'll be mixed up. Australia is back. Lauren Jackson, the Hall of Famer, she's back in the Olympics for the first time in 12 years. So we're really excited to see what she can do. They have Ezzy Magager and Sammy Whitcomb. A lot of the players, the Americans, will see every day in their WNBA careers. And Puerto Rico is here, Serbia, Nigeria. There's a wealth of talent.
And you've mentioned a lot of teams and a lot of teams with WNBA talent. Are there some teams that people should maybe set their alarm clocks early to make sure they can try to watch in Paris or watch the reruns if waking up early isn't their forte?
I think that U.S. Belgium game on the next Thursday will be the biggest one, because there could be the possible upset. And then just a few days later on that Sunday, Belgium will have to play Japan. That was the team that they lost to by 1 point in the quarterfinals in Tokyo. So that'll be an interesting game. There's Australia playing Canada, Australia playing France. Those are all big matches for the group stage that could be really exciting.
Awesome. Well, excited to keep an eye on those and see your coverage and hear from you live from Paris. But coming up next, we'll talk about Team USA's 3-on-3 team, other teams to watch in terms of 3-on-3, and more. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But with the NBA and NHL playoffs over, we've got fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. The opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics is today, and there's so much Olympic women's basketball related bets to place in the next few weeks. You can bet on who will win groups A, B, and C in 5-on-5, who will win the gold medal for both 5-on-5 and 3-on-3. You can also bet on individual Olympic basketball games too, including Team USA taking on Japan on Monday in 5-on-5, and Team USA's 3-on-3 team taking on Germany on Tuesday. So head over to fanduel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Today's episode is brought to you by Apostrophe. I've struggled with self-confidence as I've been planning my wedding over the last year, but I've prioritized taking care of myself and being kind to myself, and over time have grown to love myself more than I have in years. One of the biggest things that can lead to a lack of self-confidence is your skin, and that's why we're excited to partner with Apostrophe, the sponsor of this episode. Just fill out an online consultation about your skin goals and medical history, take a few selfies, and a dermatology provider will create a customized treatment plan for you. Apostrophe offers access to prescription treatments for all types of acne. I also love the cute postcards and personalized stickers on the prescription bottles. We have a special deal for our audience. Get your first visit for only $5 at apostrophe.com/lockedon when you use our code LOCKEDON. That's a savings of $15. This code is only available to our listeners. To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/lockedon and click Get Started. Then use our code LOCKEDON at sign-up and you'll get your first visit for only $5. Thank you, Apostrophe, for sponsoring this episode. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So, Scott, switching to Team USA on the 3-on-3 side, what does each member of the 4-person team bring to the table?
Okay, well, I also talked to Jen Rosati, the 3x3 coach, last month about the same subject, and she said that Sierra Burdick is the veteran player who organizes the team so well and makes all the right calls on the fly, so it's really valuable to have her with her experience here. And Haley Van Lith, even though she's only 22, she has so much experience playing with Burdick at the last 2 World Cups, and that previous one from last year, they won the gold medal. Ryan Howard is here, and Jen, she said that she's very versatile with her scoring. Whatever she does, screening, shooting, you can post her up. And she led the 5x5 team in scoring at that qualifying tournament in Antwerp. So she's really a great player. And then we had De'Erica Hamby replace Cameron Brink, who just had the ACL tear. So she's going to be the new player, and she was the MVP of the AmeriCup last year. And Puerto Rico, she get the game-winning shot at the buzzer to beat the Brazilians at the last minute for the gold medal. So she's also a veteran of the 3x3.
And this is a totally new team from the team that took home the gold in 2021. But, and you touched on this a little bit, how important is it that Sierra Burdick and Haley Van Lith have experience having won the 2023 FIBA 3-on-3 World Cup last year?
It's very important because a lot of these other teams they'll be facing have been playing with one another regularly for the past 2 World Cups, if not the Olympics. So they're very familiar with each other. We mentioned about the muscle memory earlier. Well, these players, they know where they are at all times. So it's highly important to have that chemistry.
And, I spoke on the podcast last week with Team USA 3-on-3 assistant coach Tammy Reese. And she talked about, how quickly they need to build chemistry. I believe she said there were 8 days between when they came together and their first game. So Team USA brought together those players. As you mentioned, other countries have had the same 4 players playing together for the last few years. You saw Team USA play an exhibition against the Team USA under 23 team in Phoenix at the All-Star game. How did the team look?
That also was highly close. And a lot of those players from the under 23 team, they're still in college, so they haven't reached their peak yet. But still, that was a close game before the U.S. was able to pull out with the victory.
And, is there anything that you saw that, you were looking for Team USA to improve on before the Olympics, or do you think it just is chemistry and continue to play together?
Yes, it will be that chemistry.
Awesome. Well, their games are coming up. What are some of those highly anticipated matchups for them in that first round of Olympic play for the 3-on-3 team?
The U.S. first game is going to be against Germany on July 30th, which is Tuesday. And China and France will be playing that same day. So that will be a big match not to miss. And then the U.S. will be playing France and Canada on the same day on the 2nd of August. And then the final game of the group stage will be on August 3rd, the U.S. and China. And then the semifinals and final will be on August 5th. So there are 8 teams right now. They'll be reduced to 4 for the semifinals.
And 3-on-3 is a little bit different than 5-on-5. It's a lot faster paced. But why should people be watching 3-on-3 in addition to watching 5-on-5?
Oh, it's very exciting. There's fast-paced, fewer timeouts. We mentioned that the coach is in the audience, not down on the court with them. So that's another reason why the veteran players like Burdick and Hamby have to be like a coach on the floor. So it's very fast-paced. It's very exciting. It's something people can relate to if you played a half court in your backyard or at the park outside. It's a really nice atmosphere.
And, who is the gold medal favorite? Is it still the U.S. having won the World Cup last year and the Olympics 3 years ago? Or is someone else expected, maybe with a little bit more experience playing together, to come in and compete for gold?
China is the number 1 ranked team in the world right now. They are returning 3 players from Tokyo. They were 4th at the World Cup last year, bronze in 22. And they have a new player, Chenming Ling, 24-year-old. But the other 3, you have Wang Li. She tied Kelsey Plum with 55 points in that Tokyo tournament. So that was the high for the event. And Wang Jiyuan, Zhang Jiting coming back. It should be really exciting to see what happens with them. France, the host, they're bringing in 4 players from the last 2 World Cups. Leticia Guapo, she was the MVP in 2022. And, they were the World Cup champions in 22. So with them playing at home, we'll see how they look.
And, what team are you most excited to see, whether they're playing the U.S. Or, another matchup that you're sticking around to watch?
It looks like those will be the top 3 favorites: China, U.S., and France. Canada won the silver medal 2022. I know that group has also played together for a few years continuously, and the U.S. has had problems with them in the past. It's the Plouffe twins, Catherine and Michelle. Casey Bosch and Paige Crozon are the other two. Australia is here. You got Marina Whittle. She scored 70 points at the World Cup, which was one of the highest. They won the bronze last year in Vienna at the World Cup. Azerbaijan has Tiffany Hayes, played at UConn, won a couple of championships there. So it'll be interesting to see how she translates to the 3x3 game. And then Germany and Spain are the other two teams.
Awesome. Well, coming up next, we'll talk to Scott about games to keep an eye on, what he's excited about at the 2024 Paris Games, and more. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing better than going to an MLB game during the summer, and I can't wait to keep making those memories this summer too. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. And prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. I've always wanted to see a Yankees-Red Sox game, so I have my eyes on those tickets, but I also have a friend who's a huge Phillies fan, so I've been keeping my eyes on tickets to take her to a game as well. I love that you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Game Time also has last-minute deals where you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So, Scott, we've kind of talked about this already, but if you just want to list some of the group phase games our listeners should make sure they tune into.
For the 5x5?
Yes.
Okay, well, the U.S. starts with Japan on Monday. So that's 9 o'clock here in Lille. So what's that going to be in the East Coast? About 3 in the afternoon?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and then they'll have the match with Belgium on Thursday. So that'll also be at 3 on the East Coast. And then the Germany game on Sunday, that is, I believe, 5:30 here. So that one, keep an eye on. And like I did mention, Belgium and Japan will be playing earlier that day, and that was the best game of the Tokyo Olympics. So we'll see what happens this time. Japan is having a lot of its players returning as well. So
yeah, unfortunately, I know for myself, 5 a.m. on the East Coast is a little early for me on that front, but I'm sure myself and plenty of others will make sure to watch it on tape delay once we wake up. And then, what is the 3-on-3 game? What game in 3-on-3 in the pool round are you most excited for to watch?
I mentioned that the U.S. opens with Germany, and then there's that China-France one. I'd be interested to see what happens in that China-France, because according to all these notes, they match up so well. And I would predict it would be the U.S., China, France, and somebody else that it comes down to in the end. So,
and then basketball or not, what are you most excited for being in Paris for the Olympics?
Oh, I'm very, very excited. I hope to see as much as I can. I'm a real history buff, so the field hockey is going to be played at the Stade Yves de Manoir, over in La Colombe. That was the original stadium from the 1924 games, and to see an event there live in the centennial in that same month, it's going to be really neat. I remember the first time I was here, that was the highlight of the trip, was seeing that stadium, and I'm really excited to see it, with an event going on. And the same thing with the Roland Garros, where the French Open is played. To get in there, that opened in 28, and Djokovic is playing. Nadal is going to be playing with Alcaraz. So I'm excited to head over there too. So, and the opening ceremony, I'm really excited to see what happens, and the track and field. It's all. I'm really excited.
And then I asked Tammy Reese this last week, so I guess I'll just keep it going in terms of Olympic questions. You know, what French food are you most excited for?
Well, should we give you a travel tip?
Sure.
Okay, when I travel to Europe, I mostly have the same meal. I go to the supermarket, I get a piece of fruit, a yogurt, and a pastry. And that usually, if you want to budget on your travels, that's usually a good meal.
Yeah, and I know the pastries are just so much better in Europe from my own experience and stories from family members and friends as well. Usually I ask people what they're working on, but we know you'll be covering the Olympics. Is there anything specific or anything else you want to talk about that you're working on?
I'm just really excited to be here. This was a goal of mine for many years, and uh, I look forward to seeing everything coming full circle here. Getting to work with Diana Taurasi all these years, and this might be her final Olympics, and it's in Lauren Jackson, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you know, a goal for you was to cover the Olympics. What does it mean to you to be able to be there in Paris covering the Olympics this year?
I've been to 7 Olympics as either a spectator or a volunteer, but this is the first time getting to use the media pass, so it's quite special. We put in a lot of work for many years, and uh, it's very nice to just close that, wrap it up, and not have any regrets. It's nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining today, Scott. Where can the listeners find you online?
Oh, at SMAMMOSER.
Awesome. And thanks to our listeners for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And make sure to tune in tomorrow to hear from our WNBA draft crew.